What's going on YouTube? Saharali here. I think we all remember last July when Catherine from Dollightful basically exerted her dominance over the entire doll community by having us come together in the literal biggest doll collaboration ever. It was amazing, and basically everyone got to show off for the month, and it was such a nice community vibe. And I was so damn excited because I was making a doll I'd been planning to make for a while. And yeah, I was able to do it during such a communal event, so it was awesome. And Chrysa turned out so much better than I was expecting. Except for the fact that I lost the footage of her creation process. I was so excited to share it, but boop, gone, thanks to my hard drive failing. So I only have a few minutes of footage of her creation process and a few photos that I took very close to the end of that process. At least I can share those with you. If you'd like to see a video actually detailing the way I went through creating this sort of doll, do let me know. I may already have a design for her sister that I've been considering making, so if people are interested, I'd be more than happy to get on that. So Chrysa is a Sirena Von Boo. I made her wig out of Alpaca Fibre that I had to dye twice with a Manic Fuchsia shock to get this super bright, intense pink colour. And yes, the alpaca is ethically sourced. There will be no harm to animals on my channel. After dyeing all the fibre, I made a wig basically using the same method that I showed in my creating small doll wigs video. I left it super long so that basically it'd look like she had more tentacles. Her hair accessory is little pieces of coral made out of resin. The yellow and green pieces were sculpted out of clay and then cast into tiny silicone molds and then cast with UV resin. For the swirly pieces made out of blue, I basically got UV resin and a toothpick. I drew the shape on a piece of plastic so that when I cured it, I could peel it off the plastic and have a cool piece of coral. Her face-up and paint job aren't really something I can describe, unfortunately. I used a lot of liquid mask for her body so that I could carve out the shape of the dress neckline over her collar and down her back. I used a fine brush for the details all over her body, a dotting tool for most of the dots on her torso, and I used a lot of shimmer and glitter because a mermaid should sparkle, obviously. She didn't need her regular mermaid tail, so I whacked that off, and I created a two-part opening in the bottom of her pelvis so that she could be strung to the jellyfish bell. This is one of those parts that it's really hard to explain with words rather than pictures. I used epoxy clay and a lot of thick wire because I knew that it would be super heavy and needed that added stability. After that, I used more epoxy to create like a little shell of the pelvis, like a delicious chocolate coating on a Ferrero Rocher almost, without the nuts. To make sure I could separate it, I first wrapped the doll in cling film, then sculpted on top of that. When it was finished curing, I popped it off, and this would be what I attached the bell to, what I attached the tentacles to, what I attached the little underskirt to, and then what I strung to the pelvis, making her a hip joint so that she could be extra posable. The bell was one of the most troubling parts. I made it out of about 3 packets of Medina air dry clay, and then I created a 2-part mold using nearly 5 kilograms of silicone. It was a lot, yes. But at least if I ever make another jellyfish mermaid, I don't have to make another mold. I then cast the bell in epoxy resin mixed with so much glitter. I basically ran out of certain colors of glitter because I used them all on this doll. But I didn't manage to get a full cast because I also ran out of resin. I was not buying more for this. I had already spent literal hundreds of dollars on this doll. Let's not think about that. I cast the bell, I smoothed it out as much as I could considering I think I had about 2 days left to submit my entry, and I also drilled small pilot holes for the smaller tentacles into the bottom edge of the bell. To make the smaller tentacles, I took a page from the Doll Fairy and made each tentacle by sandwiching a thin piece of wire between 2 lengths of satin ribbon and connected the ribbon with a flexible fabric glue. I also ended up using a blanket stitch around the edge of each tentacle to make sure it was super secure since I knew the curling and twisting might loosen some of the fabric glue. Yes, that took hours. The ends of the wire that weren't covered by the ribbon were then glued into those little holes that I drilled into the bell with epoxy glue. The larger tentacles were the most complex part, and it's actually extremely difficult for me to try and show how I did it without visuals. Basically, I did the same process as with the smaller tentacles, but instead of ribbon, I used silicone. And instead of making them flat, I made them ruffled around the wire to give it a more authentic jellyfish look. But it is really hard to explain this process without visuals, so I won't go into too much detail. Her underskirt was made very simply with polymer clay, and I sculpted it to look roughly like a skirt. And then I attached everything to that little hip piece, the chocolate piece. I strung that to the bottom half, and that's how Chrysa came to be. I can't believe I lost her footage. It's so disheartening when you put so much effort into something and then it just disappears out of your hands. But at the end of the day, I still have the doll, and I'm still super proud that I made her and that I actually made friends while I was doing this collab as well. And, you know, a few followers, that's always nice. And honestly, she's a really cool doll. Like, not to toot my own horn, but yeah, she's pretty cool. She rocks. And I love jellyfish and I love mermaids, so just looking at her makes me happy. I hope that you guys like her too. That's all I can really show you, unfortunately, but I hope you at least enjoy what I have been able to share with you. So let me know if you want to see a more detailed process of making this sort of doll. It won't be the same design, but it will be the same sort of like processes and materials, but it'll be a different doll. I've already got her name for her, and she's going to be so cute if I end up making her. Yeah, that's the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!